Hey friend, I'm Meagen Berquist, and I'm a small town teacher who found that I wanted to live more sustainably in 2016. There weren't many sustainable alternatives in my area, so I founded Stella and Sol Sustainables to remedy that. If Google and Pinterest University have left you overwhelmed and unsure of where to go or what to do, you've come to the right place. I'm passionate about giving you the tips, tricks, and education to help you along your journey towards reducing your waste and maximizing your impact. Join me as I explore home, health, and the environment in pursuit of a balanced eco-life. In this podcast, I share my ups and downs along the zero-waste journey while giving you realistic, actionable steps towards an eco-friendly life that works for you. This is Zero Waste Simplified. Hello, and welcome to Zero Waste Simplified, Eco-Friendly Living Broken Down. I am your host, Meagen Berquist, and today we are talking all about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, mental health and zero waste. So I have had anxiety and depression for more than half of my life. I started knowing that I had depression when I was in probably 7th grade, but because I had a couple of other family members who also had the same diagnosis, I was very smartly just, I don't want to bother them, so I'm not going to tell anyone because, 7th grade logic. So that just got into my head, and I did not start really taking care of my mental health until I was 25. So that was 10 years of not taking care of myself. And I'm not sure about you folks, but I know that I have had this tendency in the past and still actively fighting it each day to get frustrated if you're not able to do anything perfectly. So if I was working out, I'd have to follow everything exactly as it is on the video, or else I was a failure. I had to do something super well to the point where I would be considered top tier, or I would be a failure, because these are the lies that your brain tells you. Now, with zero waste, there's no perfect. There is no award that you get for being most zero waste person of the year or anything like that. It's a journey, and it is an imperfect one. You can't be perfectly zero waste. Not in this economy. Zero waste can also be draining. It's a way of living that most people don't have it, so there is going to be extra friction because that's not the norm. You're going to have to put extra effort into finding eco-friendly options. You're going to have to put extra effort into finding eco-friendly items. You're going to have to put some extra effort into figuring out what to do with the stuff that you already have. You're going to have to put that extra effort into more areas of your life than a lot of other places do, a lot of other people do. And that can lead to some really intense difficulties with maintaining mental health, especially if you haven't adopted some progress is better than no progress mentality. I know that one of the things that I do for zero waste is to cut down on the processed foods, which is beneficial for health, but also just it reduces waste because you're using whole foods. And because you're making so much from scratch, it can be really draining. This goes double for those who are making their own beauty or cleaning products. So how do I handle doing zero waste when my mental health needs to take priority? The answer, I don't do everything. So any of you who have struggled with mental illness or are just neurodivergent in general knows that in order to exist well in this world, you need to make plans for what happens when you're not feeling your best. I remember one day I was scrolling mindlessly on the internet, probably on Pinterest, and I remember seeing this quote, "Anything worth doing is worth doing badly." And I was just so flabbergasted by that. I was like, what the frick is that? That makes zero sense, because obviously the quote is anything worth doing is worth doing well, because then you don't have to do it again, and that's a pain in the butt. But if you really think about it, anything worth doing means that there is benefit in doing something. So if you're not able to go and do that perfect workout or be perfectly zero waste to the point where you normally are, then it's worth doing small bits in order to move towards that goal and maintain that goal versus just being like, well, I can't do anything because I'm done, so not doing anything. What we're going to go over next is my 5-step plan to figure out what your top 3 priorities are when it comes to zero waste when you're having those mental health days that you just cannot. So, the first thing, make a list of everything that you can think of that you do to reduce your waste. Don't think too hard, just write it all out in a space where you feel comfortable, whether that's a journal or a note on your phone. Leave it for now. Take a break. I know it's tempting to skip this, but take some space from this list and come back to it in about 15 minutes. If you forget about it and don't come back till later, that's fine too. So, number 1, make a list of everything that you can think of that you do towards reducing your waste. Don't think too hard, just brain vomit it out, write it all out in a space where you feel comfortable, whether that's a journal or a note on your phone. Second thing, leave. Leave it for right now. Take a break. I know it's tempting to skip this, but take some space from this list and come back to it in about 15 minutes. If you forget about it and don't come back until later, that's fine too. The next piece, add in anything that you thought of when you were taking your break, and then sort your list. Make a table of important, kind of important, not really important, and not important. This gives you a priority list of things that matter to you. Look at your first 2 columns and choose the 3 that matter most to you. These will be the ones that you focus on when your mental energy is taken up elsewhere. Number 4, take a look at your first 2 columns, that important and kind of important, and choose 3, just 3, that matter most to you. When your mental energy is lagging, these are the ones that you're going to come back to in order to stay on your journey. These are your core pieces on your journey. Number 5, and take the 3 you've chosen and write them down on a new sheet of paper or a new note, putting them all at the top of the page. Now, underneath that, what you're going to do is take everything in your mind that you can think of that will make doing that thing easier when you have fewer spoons and list it out. Just list everything that you could possibly do. So, for example, my 3 habits are composting, granite cleaning and dishwasher tablets, which I DIY, and using regular dishes and silverware instead of using disposable plates or even compostable plates. With composting, I have multiple bins in my kitchen that I can use to store the food until I can bring it out to our compost bin. I empty it only about once a week. It's not a whole lot. I bought tumbler bins so that it's easier to access and to turn it so that it actually makes it into compost instead of just sitting there as a giant lump of food. And then the other thing is that I can create a bokashi system, which is this composting system that you essentially pickle everything out with a regular compost, which allows you to compost meat and dairy, which you're not supposed to technically do when you're just putting out regular compost in the backyard. Number 2 habit, granite cleaning and dishwasher tablets. So these are 2 of my cleaning solutions that I DIY, and they're the ones that I use the most. So I make them in bulk. I always make sure to keep the materials on hand. And then I also keep them close together so I don't have to go hunting this ingredient or that. They're all right there so that when I need to make them, they're ready. I don't have to go figuring out where X, Y, or Z is. And then using regular dishes or silverware, I have a routine for doing the dishes, and I also bought a dishwasher when my time was extra limited, when I was driving an hour 15 each way to work. So that is my 5-step process to dealing with zero waste when you are having a tough time mentally and when you're dealing with mental health issues. If you want this all spelled out for you, there is a PDF that I have designed so that I will walk you right through this. So if you want to do this, but you want something to guide it through, if you go to bit.ly/zero waste and mental health, that's bit.ly/zero waste and mental health, you will find a PDF that you can download and do all together. You don't have to worry about remembering, you don't have to worry about taking notes. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me here at Zero Waste Simplified. It means so much that you chose to spend some of your time with me. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll get all new episodes as soon as they drop. You can find all resources and links mentioned in today's episodes at zerowastesimplified.com. Want some more eco-friendly living advice and stories in your life? Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Stella and Saul. Like what you heard? Rate and review the podcast in Apple Store or your podcatcher of choice, or share it with a friend. This is the best way to help the podcast grow and reach even more people with eco-friendly information and advice. See you next time.